policies were all policies that were never enforced, but all of a sudden, as soon as we went public, they decided they want to start enforcing policies and try and do everything they could to get us in trouble.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
Workers at Starbucks have been running away with probably the most impressive organizing campaign in modern history. As of Thursday evening, workers at Starbucks have won 2 union elections. They have had ballots impounded at a third in Arizona because of the intransigence of the National Labor Relations Board. They've announced intentions to file for a union election at more than 93 locations, and they have filed for election at 78 locations covering more than 2,000 baristas. Of course, like any group of workers organizing collectively to improve their working conditions, the company is fighting back through some legal and some illegal tactics. All of them, however, are unethical. Baristas have faced bombardment by executives on their locations, harassment by managers that they've never met before, intimidation, including 6-on-1 mandatory meetings, unnecessary captive audience meetings, including one that was forced on our friends at the Knoxville location. You'll remember us speaking to Maggie Carter a month or so ago, that exposed the entire crew to COVID and closed the shop down for a whole week. And that is that's why we've got our next guest on the line today. Retaliatory firings. Baristas at a Memphis Starbucks announced that they would be unionizing a couple of weeks ago, and they gave an interview with local media on January 18th, for which they were fired. The company claims the firings had nothing to do at all with the unionization efforts, rather for violations of safety and security policies, namely policies that have to do with locked and unlocked doors, unauthorized persons in the building, and someone being in the safe who was not the authorized cash handler. Now, there are no allegations of anything being missing from the safe. And of course, as anybody who works in the restaurant industry will tell you, it is not uncommon that you would be at a workplace when you are off the clock, nor is it uncommon that a non-employee would be in the building after store hours. I'm willing to accept that maybe there are some companies that take these policies more seriously than others, but I believe it's wholly illegitimate to fire employees as a first response to violations of these policies, especially given that these policies had not been consistently enforced. As the former manager of this location can attest, let's listen to a clip of a video that she sent to More Perfect Union. Adam, play that clip for us.
My name is Amy Holden, and I am the former store manager of the Starbucks Poplar and Highland location, where many union partners were terminated today. I was with the company for 9.5 years, so I feel like I have a pretty good understanding of what Starbucks policies and procedures are. We have a process at Starbucks when it comes to corrective actions and terminating partners. We do not move straight to termination for anything that is not considered egregious, like stealing and harassment and those kinds of things. Those things we would move towards corrective action to, as long as partner resources supported it. The majority of a violation, a policy violation, would move to some level of corrective action where we would assume positive intent and help that partner correct their action rather than moving straight to termination. It's very rare that we move straight to termination for some sort of policy violation. These partners were terminated for policies like going behind the line when they were off the clock. It's something that's done across the company and especially in the Memphis area. They went behind the line for various reasons, but if we terminated everybody that did that, we would not have a staff. Many of those partners have done those things directly in front of the district manager and the new store manager, and they've never been coached on it before. Nothing was ever said about it.
So clearly what we're looking at here is a selective enforcement of store policy. So we wanted to talk to some of the folks that have been affected by this. We brought on 2 of the 7 that were fired, Nebretta and Kylie. So Nebretta, Kylie, thank y'all so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So can y'all tell us why the company told you that you were fired?
Well, I know I was, in my write-up, it says that I went and back house unauthorized, well, off the clock, I should say, I went behind the bar off the clock, and it said that I unlocked a door for an unauthorized person to enter the building after closing, which is completely untrue. I was never near the door.
And Kylie, what about you?
I was told I was fired for being behind the bar off the clock. I was fired for being back of the house off the clock. For being in the store after hours, and for not wearing a mask while off the clock.
So we listened to your former manager say that these policies were not enforced before. Is that something that y'all can confirm?
Yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
yes, I can confirm that.
So can you talk to us about, like, she even said that you did some of these things in front of the new store manager and the district manager before, and nothing was said. Is that true?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, all the time.
And I worked in a restaurant for 3 years, and this is something that that happened at my restaurant all the time as well. We would have, there would be people in the restaurant after we closed, like our friends, just, goofing off with us in the store. Like sometimes we would even make food, like just hang out in the store sometimes, which that's, and y'all didn't even do that. Yeah. Talk to us about what exactly happened there. Cause I've seen some differing accounts of exactly who was in the store at what time. So can you talk to us about that afternoon when you brought the media in, when the store closed, when y'all were there, all those types of things?
Yeah, sure. So I know everybody that did the news broadcasting, including the media that was there, they were 100% there before we closed. We have a grace period policy where we're not even allowed to tell customers that we're closed until at least 10 minutes after we have closed. We treated them like we would treat any other customer. We allowed them to stay. They wanted to interview us, and so that's exactly what we did.
So the store, it wasn't even like y'all brought them into the store after it was closed. They came wanting to interview you, and you allowed them to stay and gave the interview.
Yes, correct.
So given the lack of enforcement of these policies beforehand and the situations around the actual incident itself, why do you believe that you were fired?
We were 100% fired because we were trying to build the union within our store. Because these were, like we said before, these were all policies that were never enforced, but all of a sudden, as soon as we went public, they decided they want to start enforcing policies and try and do everything they could to get us in trouble.
Definitely, I can attest to that. I know one of the people that was fired had completely nothing at all to do with the news broadcasting, but she was seen on camera signing a union card that day, so they fired her. Wow.
And could y'all remind us, how soon did these firings happen after the interview?
Like
it took about a month. Yeah, like a couple of weeks, almost a month before they even concluded their quote unquote investigation, as they call it.
So how have the people that were not fired, how have they taken it?
Oh, they're so riled up. They're ready to fight harder than ever, and they have been fighting a lot harder than they were before because they know that none of us had done anything wrong or done anything that we hadn't been doing since we were working there before. So everybody has just been fighting and pushing a lot harder than before.
Definitely. We already have a whole new committee. Wow. Since they fired the original committee, we've already had a whole another committee, and they're now starting their anti-union scheduled meetings. So they're definitely holding in strong in there.
That's great to hear. I'm really glad that it seems like these firings have had the opposite effect. Let's talk about y'all. There have been there's been a lot of support pour in from across the country. There's been a GoFundMe that's currently raised more than $50,000 to support you all while you're waiting to hopefully get your jobs back. And there were protests at unionizing Starbucks locations across the country, including at your location in Memphis. What has it felt like seeing that outpouring of support?
I know it's been very important to us, and we greatly appreciate how much support we have gotten, because these things were unjust. And I mean, of course, you know, we're a little sad and upset that we can't work with our friends anymore because we're super close to our store. We're like a family there. So it's kind of sad that we have to kind of watch them through the window and they have to watch us through the window. But I mean, it's been uplifting. I just love all the community support and the national support that we have received. It's been amazing.
Yeah, no, I've honestly felt the same way. It's honestly like warmed my heart a lot, and I cannot thank anybody enough for the support that they've given us. Like I will go through, like I'll just be scrolling through Twitter and I'll almost start crying just from how much people have been supporting us. It's been so nice to see.
Yeah, I've enjoyed seeing it. And I can't imagine how it would how it would feel to be on the receiving end of so much support from all across the country. Why did y'all want to unionize in the first place? Like, what was the catalyst there?
I know I personally started unionizing not for myself, but I did it for the coworkers around me because I was watching everybody being cast aside. Every concern was not being addressed, no matter how much we were trying to address it. And I just got to the point where I was tired of watching my friends being hurt left and right. And so I just, as soon as somebody said, hey, let's start forming the union, I jumped right on board for everybody.
Yeah, mine was more of like safety precautions and health things in the store. Starbucks, you know, says that they're doing everything they can for COVID cases, but I mean, we had a case in our store where I want to say like 95% of our store had caught in COVID. And I know I was exposed multiple times, regardless of me being fully vaccinated. I still feel unsafe in that environment. And I let my manager know that. And she basically just brushed me off and was like, well, you're fine because you're vaccinated. No, that's not okay to be around sick people like that.
Yeah, so when we tweeted about this or shared something that y'all had said, and it was crazy because, you know, we're like a small talk radio program in Alabama, and the director of crisis communications for Starbucks emailed us wanting to, like, quote unquote, like, correct the record. And he was extremely adamant that it's like that the safety is such an important thing, that these are terminable offenses because they take quote unquote partner safety so seriously. How would you respond to the claim that Starbucks takes, you know, worker safety very seriously?
I would say, you go first, Bretta.
Oh, sorry. I don't believe they do. I mean, they say that we don't need a union and that we can solve this in-house. We don't need a union and everything. And I mean, it's kind of crazy they even say that, because when you go to the higher ups, they just push you to the side. And for them to come out and to try to make us seem like bad people and basically just trying to dirty our name like that, I think it's ridiculous that they would even try to say that we were so unsafe. I mean, if we were so unsafe, why allow us to work 3, almost 4 weeks with other people if we're so unsafe?
Yeah.
Right. No, yeah, that's definitely what I was gonna say as well, is we're definitely like, they're definitely they're reaching out to small programs just to try and save their own face, because, you know, I'm sure they fire a bunch of people throughout the company, like, every month. I'm sure they fire so many. And just for them to just now be reaching out to media to justify themselves, that's how you know, like, what they know what they're doing. Because, like, you don't hear them reaching out to, like, New York Times to justify why they fired this person for being late that many times. Like, they're just doing this to save face and to show that, oh, we're still a progressive company, but these people were here to fight the progressiveness and everything.
Right. Do y'all regret beginning this effort?
Oh no, definitely not. If I could do it again, I would 100% do it again, the exact same way.
Oh, yeah, no, same. I do not regret this at all. We've had so many people reach out to us, tell them that we have made them a lot more confident in unionizing. So we've just been like a support for many people. And I would not have another team that I would rather do this with.
That's great. I'm really glad to hear it. To wrap up the conversation, I'll give you a fun tidbit from my conversation with Reggie, the director of crisis communications for Starbucks. When I ended my conversation with him, I asked him how much he was making, and he did not want to tell me. So when I asked him, he was like, "How much are you making?" And I said, $55,000 a year. What about you? And he was like, "Well, that's great. I'm sure you do a great job. I'll let me know if you have any other questions."
Oh wow. Yeah, they
So-
definitely just want to cover all their bases.
Exactly.
Yep. All right. Well, Kylie, Nebretta, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank
Absolutely.
you so much.
Thank you for covering the story.
And stay strong. We've got
Yeah.
your back, and there are people all over this country, all over the South, that are really inspired by your actions and will continue to support you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you for that support so much. That honestly means a lot.
Absolutely. And let us know if there's ever anything that we can do. Like I said, I'm the Secretary Treasurer of the North Alabama Labor Council. I know some folks that are a little bit closer to your area. So if there's anything that we can do as unionists, let us know. If there's ever a story that you want us to talk about or to talk to us about, let us know. Happy to support. Y'all have a good one. Okay.
All right. You too.
Thank you.
right.
Thank you.
We've been talking to Nebretta and Kylie. They are former Starbucks baristas. They were fired in retaliation for unionizing at a Memphis location. Starbucks Workers United have filed an unfair labor practice alleging that these firings were illegal retaliation for their union support, and they are seeking a 10J injunction to quickly reinstate these workers with back pay, which is a process that the new Biden-appointed NLRB General Counsel Jennifer Abruzzo says she intends to pursue aggressively. She has got a chance to prove it now.
Support for this program comes from the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 136 out of Central Alabama. Learn more at IBEW136.org.